I chose to analyze the film Brokeback Mountain and the relationship between the two main characters, Ennis Del Mar and Jack Twist. The setting of the film is the American West during the 1960s through the 1980s. The couple is portrayed as being deeply in love but constrained by the social and cultural norms of their time. The two men share profound emotional and physical connection that persists over decades. They are forced to keep their love a secret due to homophobia and a fear of violence. Ennis, in particular, has been deeply affected by societal expectations, which keeps him from fully embracing their relationship. There's a scene in the film where Ennis describes a childhood memory of a man who is brutally murdered for being gay. He says, "My daddy, he made sure me and my brother saw it. For all I know, he did it." Ennis's internal fear shapes his decisions and his inability to live openly with Jack. According to the National Library of Medicine, internalized homophobia is associated with a high prevalence of depression, anxiety, and trauma-related disorders. Another example of Ennis's internal struggle is when he says, "If you can't fix it, you've got to stand it." It demonstrates his belief that he cannot change the way society views their relationship, nor can he safely live openly with Jack. It reflects how homophobia and the threat of violence force him into resignation, preventing him from fully embracing their love. According to Seidman, societies sustain heterosexuality in part by depicting homosexuality as unnatural, abnormal, and dangerous. Until recently, many societies have supported the denial of rights and harassment, physical assault, shaming, and social isolation of sexual minorities such as gay men because of the belief in the naturalness and superiority of heterosexuality. The film emphasizes how social stigma and personal fear prevent the men from living openly and happily together, ultimately leading to their regret, loss, and sorrow. In answer to how race shapes the couple, race is less overtly addressed in the film, as the primary characters are white. Their whiteness gives them some privilege within their communities. A mixed race couple in the same context would likely have faced even harsher consequences. The central conflict of the film revolves around their queer identities, in a time and place where being openly gay was dangerous. The story shows the emotional and psychological toll of living in the closet, their missed opportunities, the secrecy, and their internal conflict. In the film, Ennis says, "There ain't never enough time, never enough." This line expresses the sorrow of a life spent hiding, years slipping by without the chance to be together freely. It shows the weight of regret and the cost of living in fear, where love is always stolen in moments and never fully lived. Both men come from working class, rural backgrounds with limited opportunities. They have physically demanding jobs like ranch work and sheep herding. Their economic class limits their options. For example, they can't just run away together without losing everything and facing real danger. Their class also reinforces traditional values about masculinity and gender roles, making it harder for them to defy social norms. According to Seidman, gay men continue to live in fear of losing their jobs and families if their sexual identities are exposed. The film challenges traditional masculine ideals. Ennis and Jack are both tough, stoic cowboys, but they also show emotional depth and physical intimacy. Ennis struggles with the idea that being in love with a man makes him less of a man. He's trapped by rigid expectations of what it means to be male in his world. During a scene in the film during one of their early encounters, Ennis says to Jack, "You know I ain't queer." His insistence on maintaining a straight identity, even while in private with Jack, shows just how much shame and fear he's internalized. He's not just fighting society's judgment, he's fighting his own self-concept. The pressure to conform to gender roles also affects their wives, who are expected to remain silent or endure infidelity and unhappiness. There is a scene in the film where Ennis's wife Alma confronts him about the relationship. It is years after she first saw them kissing. She says, "You didn't go up there to fish." It shows how Alma is bound by traditional expectations of being a loyal, obedient wife, and she kept quiet even though she knew the truth. In the relationship, Ennis is the reserved and fearful one. He's deeply closeted and fears being discovered. He has internalized homophobia and is haunted by the threat of violence. He tends to resist intimacy and commitment, pushing Jack away even though he loves him deeply. Ennis tries to fulfill the role of the traditional man, working hard, marrying a woman, and raising kids. Jack is the more hopeful and risk-taking one. He's more emotionally open, and he's willing to challenge societal norms and wants to build a life with Ennis. He's the one who initiates their meetings and proposes they get a ranch together, hoping for a life beyond secrecy. The film exemplifies social norms by showing how heteronormativity shapes lives. Both characters are forced into heterosexual marriages and must hide their true identities. Their love defies the rigid boundaries of what was acceptable at the time. The characters reflect the traditional male role: stoic, tough, unemotional. They both work rugged, manual labor jobs associated with hypermasculinity. Their emotional and romantic connection challenged the dominant idea of masculinity. They're both working class men with limited power and resources. Their social class limits their options. They can't afford to leave everything behind and start a new life easily. Their emotional depth and complexity contrast how working class men are often stereotyped in society as being emotionally distant or one-dimensional. The relationship would have been seen as deviant by society at the time. They faced serious social control mechanisms like fear of violence, family pressure, and isolation to keep them in line. But despite everything, they continued to meet, love, and hold on to the bond for decades. The story mostly focuses on white, male, rural, working class experience. It does dive deeply into sexuality and class, but it leaves out other axes of identity like race or gender diversity. What the movie gets right is it shows how people can deeply love each other despite societal expectations. It also shows how social forces and pressures deeply affect relationships. What the movie gets wrong or leaves out, it doesn't show models of healthy, sustainable queer relationships, which do exist, and it lacks a broader representation. The couple is white, male, and rural. It doesn't explore how race, gender diversity, or other identities would affect the same kind of relationship. I believe that the characters are believable. They're emotionally complex and shaped by social realities of their time. Their love is deep, but constrained by fear, internalized shame, and the threat of violence. One quote that comes near the end of the film is when Ennis says, "I wish I knew how to quit you." His line captures the emotional struggle at the heart of their relationship. Ennis loves Jack, but he cannot allow himself to fully accept or live that love because of fear and societal expectations. The quote shows how deeply conflicted he is, torn between desire and survival. The raw emotion of the couple's connection does feel real and tragic, not just fictional. Thank you.